There is a scene in Friends that has nothing to do with Jane Austen, and yet every time I think about Barton Cottage, I think about it. Monica Geller loses her apartment in a trivia bet, Season 4, Episode 12. She and Rachel have to move into Chandler and Joey's cramped, dirty, chaotic apartment across the hall. And Monica, who built her entire identity around having a perfect kitchen and an immaculate home, does something specific. She doesn't collapse. She doesn't sit in the chaos and mourn. She starts cleaning. She cooks. She makes it work. She refuses on a cellular level to let a small and imperfect space be squalid just because it isn't what she had before. In spirit, this reminds me strongly of Elinor Dashwood. Here is a pattern I keep noticing in screen adaptations of Sense and Sensibility. Not every version does this. The 1995 adaptation gets it right. The 1971 version gets it right.
However little she wants my company, I must go to her.
Oh, thank you so much, Colonel. Oh, no.
Miss Marianne, I cannot think why you should set your cap at Willoughby when you've already made such a splendid conquest.
Both show Barton Cottage as small but ordered, neat, livable, a place where people actually inhabit the rooms rather than endure them. But the 2008 and 2026 versions made a different choice. Both show Barton Cottage as cold, dark, slightly depressing. The visual language of loss. Gray stone walls, inadequate fires. The implication is clear. This is what downfall looks like. And I think this fundamentally misreads what Austen actually wrote.
Oh, Mama, how romantic.
Austen describes Barton Cottage like this, and I want you to hear this carefully because it is not a description of misery. As a house, Barton Cottage, though small, was comfortable and compact. Comfortable. Compact. Not the words of a writer describing a cold and depressing space. Austen goes further. It had not been built many years and was in good repair. And then, this is the detail that matters most. She describes the Dashwoods arriving and finding that the tears which recollection called forth as they entered the house were soon dried away. They were cheered by the joy of the servants on their arrival, and each for the sake of the others resolved to appear happy. The whole family, together, choosing collectively to make something of this. Let's look at what Austen actually shows us. Mrs. Dashwood is, to put it kindly, not a practical woman.
This house will always be home. We will find somewhere else just as nice with the money Father left us. What money?
At Norland, she was already talking about improvements and additions far exceeding what they could afford. It was Elinor who persuaded her to give up the carriage, a real sacrifice of status, because the alternative was debt. Marianne, meanwhile, is either soaring or devastated. She plays the piano, she walks in the rain, she falls in love. She is not, in any domestic sense, the person Austen turns to when something difficult needs to be decided.
Please, let me be.
You are resolved then to think the worst of him?
Not resolved.
I prefer to give him the benefit of my good opinion. He deserves no less from all of us.
Ma.
Whenever a hard choice must be made, about money, about what to say to a difficult visitor, about how much to reveal and to whom, Austen repeatedly turns to Elinor. Not because Austen tells us directly that Elinor is running the household, but because every time something practical is required, Elinor is the one who handles it.
Helena! It's Father's will!
She is the family's practical center, and that matters enormously for what Barton Cottage becomes. Back to Monica for a moment. When Monica ends up in Chandler and Joey's apartment, and the show's set designer actually noted this, something interesting happened. The girls' furniture in the boys' apartment created what he called a cozy, quaint little space. Because Monica's taste and Monica's care transformed a cramped environment into something livable. She didn't do it by pretending the situation was fine. She did it by refusing to let the situation define the space. This feels very close to the attitude Elinor brings to Barton Cottage. Not that Austen shows us Elinor rearranging furniture or making the rooms look nice. She doesn't give us that level of domestic detail. What she shows us is something more specific. A young woman who, every time the family faces a difficult choice, chooses the response that keeps things functioning rather than the one that would feel better in the moment. That is the attitude that makes the cottage livable. The mindset that keeps the family moving forward rather than sitting in the wreckage of what they've lost. And here's the crucial point. Austen could have written the other story. She had the material. She had the character of Eliza, Brandon's lost love, who fell from respectability into genuine destitution, who ended her life in a debtor's prison. That is what real poverty looked like in this period. That is the dark ending Austen knew how to write. She chose not to write it for Elinor and Marianne. Not because she was softening reality. The Dashwood women had advantages Eliza didn't. Sir John Middleton's generosity, a modest inheritance, a social position that still held. Those things mattered enormously. But so did something harder to quantify. The decision, shared by the whole family on that first evening as the tears dried, to appear happy for each other's sake, and then, slowly, to begin to mean it. The 2008 and 2026 adaptations imported the aesthetic of Eliza's story into Elinor, and in doing so, they missed the specific thing Austen wanted us to see. The 1995 and 1971 versions understood it. The rooms are small, but they are lived in, ordered, inhabited by people who chose to keep going. Monica Geller in Chandler and Joey's apartment, Elinor Dashwood in Barton Cottage. Two women who found themselves in spaces smaller and worse than what they had before, and who refused to let those spaces be as small and bad as they could have been. Austen's version of Barton Cottage is not a story about people pretending everything is fine. It's a story about a family deciding, for each other's sake, to appear happy, and then, slowly, beginning to mean it. Some adaptations trusted Austen. Others trusted the gray walls. Tell me in the comments, which adaptation of Sense and Sensibility do you think got the feeling of Barton Cottage most right? And do you think the choice to show it as dark or bright changes how you read Elinor's character? I'm Sana. This is Monica's Pie. The story's never just the story.